Oh, howdy all. Grab yourself a beer, it's time for some PathOfExile discussion. Today, I wanted to talk about Forbidden Rite totems, and in particular, how to craft powerful shields for this build. These are things you could use if you're playing the build yourself, or additionally, they're things that you could conceivably try to create for profit in a trade league. Just be warned though that if a lot of people do start getting into crafting these, then of course, any profit margins will evaporate quickly. So, Forbidden Rite totems is a build that broke out this league because of the interaction of the skill Forbidden Rite, which scales its base damage very heavily based upon your life or the life of the entity that is casting the skill, and the fact that totems inherently have pretty high life totals. And so for this reason, Forbidden Rite supported by Spell Totem is a strong combination. It avoids all of the self-damage that you suffer when you're casting Forbidden Rite, and it also provides you with a very large chunk of damage that you're able to deal to enemies that way. And so one of the best ways to scale damage on totem builds is to stack as many totems as possible. That's why you see the Hierophant Ascendancy is so popular for this setup. And here we've got some information that's been data mined by the website poe.ninja from the ladder. So the ladder is a list put out by GGG of the top 15,000 players by experience points. And you'll see that a sizable number of them are playing a Hierophant specifically Forbidden Rite totem build. I've filtered this only to show people who are running a 5+ link Forbidden Rite, which is also linked to Spell Totem support in some way, either directly or as a pseudo link in a chess piece like Soul Mantle. And in fact, almost everyone playing this build is using the Soul Mantle unique chess piece. Now, one thing that you will notice if you have a look through here is that a lot of players are using shields. So 69% are using a wand and shield, which is a pretty nice number. A further 5% are using daggers and shields, and 2% are using a mace and shield. So this means that the percentage of people using a shield is about 76%. Some of them are using a unique shield, but not very many. The popular unique shields are Atziri's Reflection, which provides you with unaffected by curses, which is really strong in conjunction with Soul Mantle. Trolltimber Spire, which gives you a sizable chunk of life recovery. Prism Guardian, which empowers any auras you might be using. And then just a couple of just general good stuff shields. But you'll notice that the number of people using a unique shield is only in the 7.5% range. And this is at a point where people can have access to pretty much all of the gear that they're likely to want, except maybe the top chase items, because we are talking only level 94 and up characters. Now, I fully expect Atziri's Reflection to get more popular here, because, you know, that is a genuine chase item. A lot of people can't afford it yet. But there's a reason that I think you should consider a crafted rare shield, and that's why the vast majority of players on this list have a crafted rare shield. And that is the Shaper exclusive mod, +1 to the number of summoned totems. This is available as low as item level 70 on Shaper influenced rares, and it is a massive damage multiplier for the build. So what I wanted to talk about is some of the considerations that you would think about when you're deciding how you want to craft a shield for this build. Some of the things that you might want to take into account, and some of the ways that you might want to try and craft such a shield. So firstly, let's talk shield bases. The first thing that's important to note is that the mods that can roll on shields vary a lot with the stat requirements of the shield. So pure strength shields, this is something like a Pinnacle Tower shield, that only have a strength requirement, have a strong bias towards rolling red sockets on them. They have the smallest mod pool, shared pretty much with dexterity shields, pure dex shields. Then when you get to intelligence shields, you add a lot of new mods into the pool. So there's all sorts of spellcaster mods, things like the very desirable Glyphic and Runic mods, and the quite undesirable Scholars or Blistering. And then there's also things like the very desirable Mad Lords mod, and the much less desirable, but still pretty good for other characters, Thunderhands mod. So there's lots of things that get added to the mod pool once there's an intelligence requirement on your shield. And this is something you want to keep in mind. If you're trying to roll a shield and hit the specific Shaper mod that we're looking for, more mods in the pool may mean that you've got an average chance of getting something better, but it does mean that it is harder to hit the relevant Shaper mod. And so you should keep that in mind. If your shield has an intelligence requirement, it is going to be harder, considerably harder, to roll +1 to the number of maximum totems. Additionally, Hierophants can't really scale base defenses very well. So when I'm talking about base defenses, I mean armor, evasion, and energy shield. So these mods tend not to be all that important as factors for a Hierophant. In fact, probably the most important factor on deciding what type of shield base you want is the mods that are available and also the percentage chance to block attacks that shield inherently has. For these reasons, I think that the mod pools are actually better once you go an Intelligent Shield. So that's because it adds in a couple of really, really strong top tier mods that you could hit as a jackpot, like Glyphic or Runic, or Incanters even. Incanters is really good. That is a rare roll too, but even at Cultist for that matter is a pretty good roll. So there's a bunch of extra rare rolls that are really good there. And so I think for a lot of builds, you may wish to consider going with a Champion Kite Shield, which has a 26% chance to block, a Mirrored Shield, which has a 26% chance to block, or a Titanium Spirit Shield, which has a 25% chance to block, combined with the best possible Energy Shield. However, I certainly won't fault you going for one of the 26% chance to block Strength-based shields either, or the 27% chance to block Dexterity Shield. So those would be your options. I would not go with other bases. And it will need to be a Shaper influenced item so that you can get the Shaper mod that's desired. So the very top possible outcome that I feel you could get is to start with a Shaper Shield, then roll tier 1 spell damage on it. So this is the mod Runic, which is tier 1 spell damage, and it is an extremely rare mod with a weighting of only 40. That means it's 20 times rarer than the Totem mod. Once you've got that, you would augment it until you got recover X% of life when you block, or recover X% of energy shield when you block. And then once you've got that, so you need to imprint it before you augment it, of course. Then you would need to imprint it and regal it until you got the +1 to the number of summoned totems. This is a very expensive way to make an item and is something I would only suggest if you are someone who has very deep pockets and is looking to spend a couple of hundred exalts for a slim chance at making a mirror tier item in the long run. So I wanted to get that out of the way because it's the first real option that you should consider. But for most players, that's going to be completely out of the question. So we've got the middle tier options next. Here you want to, I think the Awakener Orb is something you should seriously consider. So here you're going to want to start with a +1 to the number of totems Shaper Shield. And this can be any base. Easiest to roll is on a 0 intelligence requirement shield. And then you want to find an item level 85 or higher Hunter Shield with +2 to all maximum resistances. Now this time you do want it to be on your desired base. So if you've weighed up all of the options and you've decided that the appropriate base shield for you to use is a Champion Kite Shield because of the 26% chance to block, then you're going to want to have an item level 85 or higher Hunter Influenced Champion Kite Shield. You're going to want to roll +2 to maximum resistances on that. And then you're going to want to apply an Awakener Orb. The first item you click will be the Donor. That'll be the destroyed item. And the Awakener Orb does have it in its reminder text. It'll tell you exactly what to do. You will click the Shaper Shield first. That will destroy the Shaper Shield and donate its influence to the second item you click, which will be the Hunter Influenced item with +2 to the all maximum resistances. Now I ran a little bit of using the website craftofexile.com. I ran some simulations on this and came to the conclusion that 5 times in 7, approximately, when you do this, you will hit a third prefix as well, and only 10% of the time that'll be good. If you don't hit a third prefix, then you want to benchcraft life, and you're pretty close to. You've got a very usable shield at that point. Although you could conceivably perfect it with a little bit of harvest crafting that will cost a lot of currency. On the flip side, if you don't hit the desired 2 prefixes, if you hit 3 prefixes and one of them is mediocre, then there's no way to deterministically improve that. You're just going to have to either make do with the shield as it is, and it'll be an excellent shield, +2 to all maximum resistances, and the offensive power of +1 maximum totems is really good, but there's not going to be any deterministic way to improve your prefixes without spending too much currency on them. And so at that point, you're going to want to look at the suffixes and using harvest crafts to improve those. And what I would suggest you do there is the best of the available mods is undoubtedly recover 3 to 5% of life when you block. So you're going to want to roll targeting that by using prefixes can't be changed applied to the item, and then using harvest, reforge with a life mod, and life mods are more common. At that point, keep doing that for long enough and you'll have a good chance of getting this, but that step will be expensive. So getting to the point that you've got the first two mods you want, +1 to the number of totems and the +2 to all maximum resistances, that part is easy. It costs an Awakener orb, so it's not free, and it'll probably cost you about 100 C or so to prepare the +1 to the number of totems, donor shield, and maybe another 100 C to prepare the +2 to all maximum resistances. But once you've got that, you've got a really good shield that will serve you well, and maybe you'll be lucky and you'll roll something better. The second middle tier price range option to consider is using essences. So with essences, there's a number of mods that you can lock onto an item. So we'll go to offhands and shields, and this time we'll just assume a dexterity shield. And for essences, the essences that I would consider using here are Scorn for critical strike dispels is really, really solid. On this case, you've got about a 1 in 35, about a 1 in 38 chance, I believe, of 1 in 32 chance of rolling the appropriate Shaper mod as one of your other mods when you use a Deafening Essence of Scorn. So Deafening Essence of Scorn is an option. Deafening Essence of Loathing for block is an option, and Deafening Essence of Greed for life is an option. All of them are something like 3% to hit if you're on a pure strength or pure dexterity shield, and something like 2.25% to hit if you're on a hybrid shield. So this is going to take a lot of essences, and ultimately it's up to you whether you want to use Deafening Essences for the best outcome, or whether you want to use Shrieking Essences to get 3 times as many shots at it at a lower price, but to have a lower cap on the quality of the result that you get. I will say that none of the corrupt essences look to be worthwhile. And then finally, we've got the budget option. The budget option is to take a single influence Shaper Shield and to apply pristine fossils. Now, with a Chaos Orb, you're 1 in 44 to hit the Shaper mod, and pristines actually make it rarer. So you go from 1 in 44 to hit the Shaper mod if you just apply a Chaos Orb to a Shaper Influence Shield, and you go to 1 in 54 to hit it if you're applying a pristine fossil. This is because pristine fossils make life mods more common. However, when you do hit the Shaper Shield, you're much more likely to have a good overall package this way. That's because you'll be more likely to have all life mods, so life as a prefix, and also the life recovery on block suffix that is so good on a Shaper Shield. Interestingly, item level 73 is actually optimal here. So this improves your odds to 1 in 45, and all of the top mods you're chasing on a budget shield are actually available at level 73. So if we just show here what we've got available, so let's just firstly change this away from essence crafting to fossil crafting, and we will say that we are using pristine fossils, and we are using item level 73. Now, where I said before that I was using an intelligence shield before when I found that it was the chance was 1 in 44 and 54. It's actually much more likely if you're on a pure dex shield like we are here. So this is a pure dexterity shield. 1 in 13 to hit the +1 to the number of summoned totems mod. But when you do, what's interesting is that you'll have a good chance of getting other desired mods. So your mod distribution on success, you are 98.25% to have a life tier on there. And you are 27% to have recover percentage of life when you block. This is the reason that I suggest that you apply a pristine fossil here, rather than just using Chaos Orbs. If you just use Chaos Orbs, you would have a considerably lower chance to get a good overall package, even though you would be more likely to hit the single mod you're chasing. And that's all I've got really on this. There's the budget approach is to take the Shaper Shield and apply pristine fossils. The middle tier options are either to do an Awakening Orb craft, starting with a level 70-ish Shaper Shield that has the Totem mod, using that as the donor to add that onto onto an item level 85 plus Hunter Influence Shield with +2 to the level, with +2 to maximum resistances, all maximum resistances as a defensive layer. And also at middle tier, you've got the options of using Essences of Scorn, Loathing, or Greed, depending upon what you want. And at a top tier of cost, You want to roll Runic first, tier 1 spell damage. That'll cost you 1700 alterations on average. Then imprint annul it, so that you've got Runic as the only mod. Then imprint augment it until you get Shaper, recover 3 to 5% life on block. Then imprint regal it for +1 totems. And then at that point, you have the foundations at great cost. You will have used something like 250 Craigie Chimeral Beasts to get to this point. But you have the foundations of a potential mirror item if you wanted to go down that route. If you've got comments or questions, definitely fire away below. Otherwise, may your Varlorbs have interesting results, and I will see you around.